Today we are tasting the bloody Shiraz Gin by Pillars Distillery. Hello, I'm Jo. This is Maximo, your tipples and treats. Today we have this gin.
It is an old favourite of yours, isn't it?
Well, little story. This was my first gin addiction.
Addiction?
Well, addiction might be a bit too strong.
Craving, perhaps?
My first introduction to more regular gin drinking. Before I tried this, I probably had gin 2 or 3 times. So this was the turning point.
Including your time in the UK?
Yes.
Gin and tonic wasn't high on
No, not at all.
on the beverage
No.
equation?
No. So I was actually on a business call and someone mentioned this gin. I don't know how that happened on a business call, but the 2 things that I wrote down from that meeting were this and something else. Anyway, went and found a bottle and decided I liked it, and then more gins followed. But actually I haven't had another bottle since, I don't think.
Is this the only...
This is the
second bottle?
I think
right.
so.
So this is really at the start of your gin journey,
Yes.
probably a few years ago.
A few years ago, yeah.
And we have... It's always been sort of a favourite, or you've thought fondly of this, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And we've decided to, well, let's buy another bottle.
To taste it
and do a
have
proper,
a good taste,
proper
yes.
review. And it's going to be interesting because we've had a lot of both world and Australian gins in the intervening sort of few years. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see what your perception and thoughts of it back then compared to some of the gins that we've had of late.
Indeed. So we haven't introduced it. It's the Shiraz Gin from Pillars.
And that is a distillery on the outskirts of Melbourne in Hillsville, which is the Yarra Valley, about 35-40 kilometres to the east of Melbourne.
It's actually a little bit more than that.
A bit more.
Yeah, it's over an hour. An hour.
So about 60-65 k's.
Easily. So I think what drew me to it was Shiraz and gin. How can that get any better?
2 favourite things.
So they're quite a well-known distillery in the area, and I believe worldwide they have quite a name for themselves.
And this is quite a well-known variety of their gins.
Yes, absolutely.
So this particular gin, while you're opening that, I'll talk a little bit about it. It's gin. It's their original gin combined with Yarra Valley Shiraz grapes.
Yeah.
So they put the gin in big vats and basically steep the gin with the grapes.
Yeah.
So it's not Shiraz barrel aging. It's actually mixing the Shiraz grapes with the gin.
It's actual grapes, and it's not wine added to gin. It's the grapes.
That's right. So this was first produced in 2015. And it has become quite a favourite in Melbourne.
It's very popular.
Victoria. It is,
very
yes.
Popular,
They also have a cellar door where you can book tours and attend gin masterclasses. So this particular gin, it's a 700ml bottle. It's 37.8% alcohol, so I think 37% needs to qualify it as a gin.
Yeah.
And it was approximately 87 Australian dollars to buy.
Yeah.
So that's
it. That's the lowdown.
It is. Let's give it a crack, shall we?
It's very tempting when you pour this to think it's a wine.
It certainly doesn't smell like a wine.
And fill up the glass. Be quite careful with that, don't you?
Indeed. But we saw a program on Netflix called The Woman Across the Road from the Woman in the Window, or from the Girl in the Window.
Yeah.
And that particular protagonist used to fill up a whole glass.
She seemed to have a glass that would take a full bottle of red wine.
Yes.
Quite amusing.
So we don't want to do that with this.
No.
No.
Not this price.
Indeed. It's quite
It's fruity.
it's quite a different. It's
Very different.
it's sort of it smells like a Shiraz.
Almost.
It's a Shiraz with that sort of hint of juniper, doesn't it? Or perhaps even a port wine.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
smell like anything
It's
else that we've had.
No, it's really just very different to anything.
If you were just to smell this, you'd think, oh, it's a red wine.
Yes, it's sort of like a
It's
watered
sort of,
down red wine. It's quite light in colour
well,
compared to a Shiraz.
it's more.
It's a bit lighter than a
It's
Shiraz.
more of a Pinot or something like
sort of
that.
colour,
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't recall it smelling like this. It wasn't sort of as Shirazi on the nose that I recall.
Well, back when we might have had it before, you were less of an expert at picking out tastes and aromas.
I wouldn't put myself out as an expert on
Gin.
or anything really, Joe. But I'm quite enjoying the
Jack of all trades.
master of none.
What do you call someone that has a well-rounded appreciation of various alcohols? There must be a name for that.
Alcoholic. or perhaps a connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
Yes, I think that's more.
That's a little more.
Yeah, more appropriate perhaps. It's quite intriguing. Let's have a taste, shall we? It almost tastes like a Shiraz, like a very strong Shiraz with juniper sort of elements, doesn't it?
It is quite wine based.
It actually tastes more like a fruity port than
A lighter port.
Yes. Not the tawny port; they're the heavy ones, aren't they? I'm certainly not an expert on ports, but like a lighter port. It's certainly. I mean, there's a hint of juniper. There's.
Yep. There's definitely that tang, isn't there?
It's certainly a light wine taste. There's sweetness. There's tartiness. There is a bit of pepper.
So
that may be the juniper.
Botanicals are juniper, pepperberry, coriander, and obviously the Shiraz
grapes.
So there's not much.
There's not much
to it. It's all I can say is it's quite delicious and very drinkable, even neat.
It is neat. Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's more port-like than.
It is a bit port-like.
Yeah. And obviously we drink port neat.
Yes, we do.
So let us try with some cubes of ice.
Yes. I was worried that tasting it for a second time I might be disappointed, but I'm not.
It's certainly less ginny than I think.
Yes.
And more porty than I think I recall, because I've had a couple of these as well. It's interesting to see what the ice does. Hasn't really cut down the nose.
No,
if anything, it
tastes a bit more intense.
More Shirazi, more intense. Perhaps some of the oils in the gin have been released. It's releasing some of the soluble oils.
Keep getting different sort of.
That's sweetened it up a lot. I think it's sweetened it.
I keep getting like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of peppery.
It's quite a long finish, quite a sweet aftertaste. It's actually quite nice, isn't it? It's
really nice.
Really nice. Yeah, it's unusual. It's like
it's very unusual.
This isn't tasting very much like a gin at all, is it?
No wonder it's so popular.
It's more port-like.
It's just a mixture of all sorts. Okay, let's have a bit of tonic, shall we?
Let's. Well, that's a very little splash, isn't it? It's got the nose a fair bit.
It's just diluted the profile across the board, I think.
It has. It's introduced a little bit of bitterness, perhaps. If anything, this reminds me of perhaps of a Lambrusco, which is like a sparkling red wine. If anything, without perhaps the sweetness of a lot of Lambruscos that I've had before, but it certainly reminds me of a Lambrusco, which is really, you know, it's intended
sort of
to
drink,
be,
isn't it? Yeah.
it's intended to be served cold.
Yeah.
It's got sweetness. It's got sort of bubbles. I think that's what, if I was to compare it with anything, it's probably closer to a Lambrusco, a nice Italian sort of semi-dry Lambrusco rather than the Australian sort of sweeter varieties that we have. But it's a really nice summery drink, isn't it?
Warning. Moorish.
Isn't it?
Yes. So, if by some chance you're a gin drinker and you've not tried this, which is hard to believe because it's everywhere, give it a go.
Or perhaps in Australia you would have tried it.
Maybe.
Other parts of the world it might be a bit more.
I think they do export widely.
You do?
And they obviously do other gins too.
They do.
Do quite a range.
Yeah.
We should get out there sometime.
Yeah, Healesville. We'll do a on location.
How many
tour.
times do we say we should get out?
I don't know. Look, you know, it's
Busy, working.
busy,
stuff.
working. You know, avoiding the plague.
Not much plague now.
No, a little bit.
Lots of plague, but
You've got to get on with your life, don't you? Well, this has been a nice a nice review. It's almost wrapping your arms around an old friend, isn't it?
yes, not disappointed. I was worried I was going to have developed a different gin palette over the last couple of years, and this wouldn't be to my liking. But it's pretty good.
It's pretty good, but it is different. It doesn't.
Very different.
It doesn't taste like a gin.
No.
It tastes really pleasant, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
A perfect summer gin, I think.
Better go and drink it before the summer's over.
We've only got 2 weeks to go for that. This is the middle of February, so...
middle of February right
Yeah.
now. Actually past the middle of February. But, I mean, it's a small bottle.
It is.
What about the rest of the gin? Won't they get...
Well, they won't be lonely.
Won't they?
No, I don't think so.
You can just drink this one?
I think so.
Okay.
So hopefully you've liked this review. If so, please hit the like.
And subscribe.
Buttons. And we'll endeavour to get a review out at least weekly.
Oh, definitely.
We'll try.
We'll try very hard.
And on that very pleasing note,
Cheers.
cheers.